I think we just became live. Yes.
Hello,
Awesome.
everybody.
Guys. All right.
I'm not
Okay.
yes yet.
All right.
I'm working on it.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So let's chat a little bit. Are you ready to talk about this?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to talk a little bit. I want to say hello to Jamie and Lucas. Hello. It's good to see you guys. And what I'm going to ask you guys to do as we're live and as we're talking, and this is our very first Facebook Live on Just a Conversation, go ahead and share this link and make sure you keep commenting, because the more you share and the more you comment, the more it gets out there. So that is a huge thing for us. So we would appreciate it. Hello, Cindy. Good to see you. Shannon is here. So I just want to say hi to all you guys. It's good to see you. All right. So we are going to, first of all, let me do some housekeeping. I'm going to just do some housekeeping. We're the Set Me Free Project. I'm Stephanie Olson, and I am here with
Yolanda Harden.
Yolanda Harden. And a couple of things, the Set Me Free Project, for those of you who don't know, if you're on our Facebook page, you probably do, but we are a prevention education organization on the dangers of sex trafficking and social media safety. And so we're going to be doing some of these kind of live conversations and talking and just seeing what's going on. I want to see your comments. And we've got Jimmy who shared it, so thank you. So I'm going to say again, share this link, comment. The more you do that, the more it helps us.
Let's
so
start with
awesome. Also want to tell you.
Our first comment, if you have been a friend of the Set Me Free Project before today, drop a heart down below to show us the love that you are a friend.
I love it.
And that you keep up with us. Drop a heart.
That's a good one. I like it. Drop a heart. I think that's perfect.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, I see some hearts. There we go. And then, all right. So I will say just really quickly, I've got a quick announcement for you. We are hosting on July 24th, Friday, that's next Friday, our annual fundraiser, which was postponed because of COVID. But we are bringing on Jeff Allen. We are really excited. He is a funny comedian. We're going to have a lot of fun, dinner, drinks, live and silent auction going on. But we are offering it.
Who doesn't want to be outside of the house? Who doesn't want to get out?
Seriously.
And have a little night out and have some laughter, have some drinks, have some dinner, great date night. Absolutely.
Oh, and Lucas is saying the seats open at his table.
Ooh.
That's a risky move. So if you are interested in sitting at Lucas's table, and let me just tell you, you'll have fun, send us a comment or shoot us an email at info@setmefreeproject.net, and we will hook you up with Lucas. That'll be great. And Beverly, hello. It's great to see you. All right. So here we go. Let's talk about this. I'm really excited because didn't know about this until we were talking to someone in a meeting, and they said, isn't it crazy what's going on with Wayfair? And Yolanda, you actually said, yeah, I'm kind of following that. And I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I have no idea. So then I looked it up, and sure enough, Wayfair, the third-party selling website, so you can buy awesome things. You can buy, furniture, cabinets, let's just say. You can buy a lot of different things, and it's all third-party sales. And so you can get it cheaper, kind of like Amazon. So you can get things cheaper and things like that. Well, Wayfair came under some fire this past week because there was a tweet from a Wayfair customer that said, people are suspecting that they're selling people in these large boxes, storage cabinets on Wayfair. They are all the same product, but have different names, all female names, and they are all priced 10 to 15K more than the cabinet sold elsewhere.
Isn't that crazy?
So it is crazy. It is crazy. So these are industrial cabinets, and they're cabinets that you can find. Now, if you look up the cabinets that they have on that they're talking about, if you look them up right now on Wayfair, they're going to run about $350. Well, those are gone.
Yeah, the ones that were priced high, they're gone.
Yes, exactly. So the ones that you could get or what's a regular price is like $350, $400 for an industrial size cabinet. So what they were saying, what the indicator was that these cabinets were being used to transport children to sell them for sex. And that the names of each cabinet were actually the names of missing children that had been missing around the nation. Is that what you have?
That's my understanding. Yep, that's my understanding so far as well. And let me tell you, Stephanie, I don't know about you, but I've been getting a ton of text about this because of what we do. Yeah. I'm getting a ton of text, and everybody that I talk to who knows anything about what I'm doing is asking me what my opinion is and that sort of thing. And it's been a very interesting week. I think it's been about a week and a half since it's been released. Yeah. So Stephanie,
is it real?
Is it real? That's what we're going to talk about today. Is it real?
That's the question. Is it real? Okay. So now I think to answer this question, we have to explore a little bit because, first of all, is this happening in our community, in our backyard? So let's start there. Sure. What human trafficking, I think that's an important piece of this conversation. And then we're going to talk about whether this is really something that can happen. So human trafficking is the forced, fraud, or coercion of a human being for the personal profit or gain of another. Sex trafficking is the selling of sex for the same thing. And so what we're talking about is selling children for sex in this scenario. What our work actually really does focus on youth and families. And so when we do prevention education, we go into the schools, we talk, our focus is youth because we know that targets or traffickers are targeting our kiddos. And unfortunately, with sex trafficking, and this is really important to understand, the younger, the better, and the younger, the higher price. So that's a big deal. Now, what we see often in, and we are based out of Omaha, so I'm in Nebraska, Yolanda's in Iowa, and we are across Nebraska, Iowa, we're in South Dakota, Kansas,
Illinois, so, we're in a few Midwest states.
Yeah. So we're focused in the Midwest. And what we see here, we have this mindset of kidnapping, that kids are kidnapped or people are, taken.
That's what we hear.
When we go
in anywhere, that's what we hear most often is the movie Taken. Oh yeah, that's somebody who kidnaps you, takes you somewhere, you're in a dark basement, spotlight over you, and you're being sold on the internet for thousands and thousands of dollars. That's the image we have in our brain.
Absolutely. If you guys have seen the movie Taken, just text 1 in the comments. I would love to know how many of you have seen the movie Taken, because it's an older movie, but it's a good movie. It's about 2 girls that go off to Europe by themselves, and they get kidnapped and they get sold in the sex trade. And it's kind of our image of what the sex trade is. And fortunately for one of them, Liam Neeson is their dad, and he can kick the douche, so she is safe eventually. But that is what we know or what we think trafficking is.
Yes.
So the reality is, you want to talk about the reality, Yolanda?
Sure. The reality really is that human trafficking looks a lot of different ways. There's so many different ways that this can look. So we're talking, certainly it can be something that is somebody being kidnapped and taken somewhere, but that's not what we're seeing most often here in the Midwest.
Right.
In the Midwest, what we see most often is when Stephanie mentioned earlier, force, fraud, or coercion. We often think about the force piece, but what we're seeing most often is fraud. So we're seeing, and what that encompasses is it could be me pretending to have a relationship with someone and saying, love you, I love you, I love you, whether I'm acting as a significant other or a best friend, whatever that is. I love you. You're the greatest person ever. Let's, be together. And then that trust in that relationship is actually scarred by, or is actually something that one person believes is a relationship, yet the other person has an agenda, has something malicious in mind, and they know what they're going to be doing with that. And then, of course, there's the coercion piece, which is mental control, manipulation, threatening family, or things like that. That causes that. So that's what we see most often. That's a lot of what we talk about most often with human trafficking.
Okay, so let's get into the nitty gritty of the Wayfair thing and talk about that, because there are just, and I think we could talk about Wayfair, we can talk about Pizzagate, we can talk about the Franklin scandal, and we'll cover some of that tonight. But all of the, what?
Epstein?
Oh, Epstein, yes. So all of those are definitely linked to, except for maybe Epstein, I would say, huge conspiracy theories.
Right.
Is this really happening? And what happens is people hear about it and they think, no way. There is no way there are children being sold in cabinets to people on Wayfair. I mean, that just seems insane, doesn't it?
It seems ridiculous. Well, I mean, first of all, is that the life that you live, Stephanie?
The cabinets that I buy are not, they're like $30. You have to put them together. You know what I'm saying?
I don't have the 15,000. And so it feels really like there's no way in the world this can happen. And so let me just ask you real quick before you go on, Stephanie, are we going to actually state our opinion before the end of this?
I might sort of state mine. Yes, maybe.
Okay.
Share. This is an outrage. I love it. Jamie says share. I think we're going to have to at least allude to our opinion.
Okay.
And we may have a different opinion. We haven't even talked about this.
We haven't really. We've done just enough to make sure that we're going to be live tonight talking about it. We have not talked about this issue yet. So, Stephanie.
Yeah.
How real is this for you?
All right. Well, so I think that when you look at it, your instinct is to say, no, this is not real, right? That's my instinct. That is something that we'd look at and we'd say, there is no way. But I want to take us to a land of the rich and famous, a land that many of us do not understand. And I think that it is critically important to understand that the people that are dealing with this kind of trafficking, this is not the $20 hooker on the street, right? I mean, this is not what we're thinking. We're streetwalker. We're not thinking, which is trafficking. That's not what we're talking about as far as same problem, same situation. But what we are talking about is a very high-end sale of children. Mm-hmm. Now, how many of you have heard, or type 1 in the comments if you have heard or you know about the Franklin scandal? Who knows about the Franklin scandal?
I would say type 2, just so that we can see the difference later on. Type 2.
Oh,
if you know the
Franklin scandal. Type 2 if you know about it.
scandal?
Okay.
Yeah, so
That's
I
good.
did not. And Stephanie, you kind of mentioned this a little bit the other day, and I started looking at it a little bit, but I haven't watched it a lot. So while everybody's typing that, will you summarize a little bit of what happened there?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Franklin scandal happened right here in Omaha, Nebraska, and it was started essentially by a man named Larry King. Now, this is not the great interviewer Larry King. This is Larry King, who started out, he was a credit union manager, and that's how he started. And he wound up becoming, he actually was a former Democrat. He was a former, it says he was a former Democrat, but he converted to the GOP. And so he wound up becoming this huge, big in the Republican Party, and would go back and forth to the White House and things like that. So he was very connected. What he was doing was he was ultimately having parties in which children to sell them and essentially torture them. And the children that were involved were, they're still alive, and they've spoken very openly about it, some of them. The children that were involved were completely tortured. They were young, they were teenagers, and the people that were involved in this were the high-end elite. So we're talking about in Omaha, we're talking about the editor of the World Herald, the Omaha World Herald, the chief of police in Omaha, Waldron, and the owner of Brandeis, with a department store here. So very high-end people. But what was so scary is that these parties went all the way to the White House. And so these kids were flown in so that high-end political figures, high-end Hollywood figures, high-end people could have sex and torture these kids. Now, there was a man who was actually investigating the Franklin scandal. He was so close, and he had done people, you would get close and then somebody would die, or it was very, very hidden. So he got extremely close to breaking the lid off of the Franklin scandal. See, he made a phone call, or he was in Omaha at the time and he was flying back to DC, made a phone call and said, "I'm on my way. I have all of the documentation. I'm breaking the lid off this thing." And his plane with he and his son went down, and he was killed, and there was no documentation available. Now, that is the Franklin scandal. Now, what we know is that it was huge. Larry King was using the Franklin Credit Union to launder the money, and that's actually what he was convicted for. So he was using that. The Franklin Credit Union closed. I actually lost money in it. I was little, but I lost money in it. And so he was tried for fraud and convicted for fraud and embezzlement, but never convicted, I believe, of pedophilia or child molestation or anything like that. So it is absolutely insane. And yes, Cindy says it's crazy. You are absolutely right. It's remarkably scary.
So let me ask you this. So was there any valid reason for the plane going down? Or is it unknown?
Just
is it
an accident? It's a mysterious accident. And there were a lot of people who would go missing. Now, there was a documentary called The Franklin Scandal that was supposed to be aired, and I can't remember if it was now by this point in the 90s already, but this documentary was supposed to be aired, and it was detailing all of this. It interviewed all of the kids, or not the kids involved, but a couple of the very, very key kids who are still talking. And that documentary was no longer allowed to be aired. So it never aired.
Wow. So who had a hand in that? Who stopped that from hearing?
Exactly. So here's what we need to understand. The people who have money and power, and this is what we need to understand about sex trafficking as a whole, because it really is kind of a big level business where you've got the the low of the low to the CEO, right? So you've got these people who have power, who have money, and who have influence, and those people can make things disappear.
Well, let's talk a little bit.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's talk a little bit about the fact of why does human trafficking exist? What makes that a thing that happens in this world? And the reality of that truly is the fact that this is a business first, right?
This is a business.
In a business, you have to have a buyer, a seller, and a product. And who's the product here?
Right.
The person that's being trafficked, right? The human being.
Right.
And so if we understand that really what drives this is the money, it's not outlandish for us to think about how some of these cases have evolved, true or not true. This is how they have evolved, right? And I know we're going to talk a little bit about Epstein a little bit and some of the other ones, but that's the driving force behind that. And when you get into that level of money, anything's possible. Anybody anybody with that level of money can pay off the person to hold back that documentary, or to in Jeffrey Epstein's case, not release an article, right? Don't say all those things. Don't let the survivors talk, right? When you're talking about that level of money, there's definitely huge influence that is happening.
Right. So let's talk about that Epstein piece a little bit, because Vogue magazine a reporter from Vogue had uncovered some lurid things about Jeffrey Epstein.
Was it Vanity Fair?
Vanity Fair. I'm sorry. Yes, I've got the Vogue. What is it, like the Vogue contest or whatever, the Instagram Vogue contest in my mind. Okay. Anyway, so Vanity Fair. So there was a reporter that was doing a story on Vanity Fair. She had uncovered some lurid details about Jeffrey Epstein. She had talked to survivors of his sexual, his rape and his trafficking and all of the things. She took it to Vanity Fair and said, here's an article. And they rewrote the article, just highlighting who he is. So Jeffrey Epstein was this incredible guy, all this money, all these influential friends. He hung out with all of the people, and Vanity Fair completely shoved the story that was supposed to be written and wrote a story that Jeffrey Epstein wanted them to write.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so how did he have that kind of influence? Money, right? So
absolutely.
So the reason I'm driving this home is because this is such a real thing that I, at my level, life, that's not something that I'm going to experience. I don't have the kind of money that will influence my police chief or my, an editor, the editor of a major.
So that article Vanity Fair did on you was legit. Is that it?
I didn't have the money to say all the nice things, so
okay.
Yeah, so this is so we have what we're setting the stage for. This is something that is outside of the world that most watching this, probably all of us watching this, we don't live in this particular world that Jeffrey Epstein or potential Wayfair customers live in, right? This is something very, very different, a very different world.
Now, I think it's important to point out with Wayfair recently, and I would say, I want to say this was 6 months ago. I have this somewhere. I've got all these notes around me because this is important stuff. but a group, it was like 50 employees of Wayfair in Boston walked out because Wayfair was doing some unethical practices, and they were giving money, appeared to be migrant workers, but what could essentially be child labor.
Tell me more.
Child labor. Yeah, so that's all I know.
Okay.
That's about all I know. But these workers walked out because they were saying,
50,
no, this is not
employees.
right. 50 employees in Boston. And they left because this money was going, oh, here's my notes. This money was going to, okay. Oh my gosh, I said 50, add a zero. 500 employees, 500 walked out of the company's Boston headquarters. And it took place after employees learned that Wayfair had profited off of selling beds to detention centers holding migrant children. And so, and what they were saying was that those migrant children were also being used for sex. So that's the allegation.
How long ago? This is like a month ago. How long ago was this?
A year.
A year ago.
It was a year ago.
500 employees walked out. Why didn't we hear about that?
Why didn't we hear about that? I don't know. That's a good question. So now,
leave a
you heard something today.
Leave a 3 in the comments below if you heard about 500 Wayfair employees walking out for this particular reason a year ago. Leave a 3 in the comments.
Yeah, I would love that. If you heard about this Wayfair scandal a year ago, I would love to see a 3 up there. I didn't know about it.
I didn't hear about it.
Happened.
No.
Now, interestingly, and this is something that I think is interesting too, immediately after this started to trend on Twitter and Reddit, and all of this information about the cabinet started to come out and really be a big deal, immediately those very cabinets. So here's one for $13,000. And I have a Facebook post that shows it's the Samaya 5 shelf storage cabinet. And they were all by WFX Utility. And right next to this, it's a Facebook post. Right next to that, or a Twitter, is missing from Columbus, Ohio, 17-year-old Samaya, and her last name. Then there's another one, Yaritza storage cabinet, and right next to that, and that one was being sold for $14,000. Right next to that, missing gal, Yaritza. So they found these connections between the names of the cabinets and the girls that had gone missing.
Okay, so let me just ask a question here. So if you're wondering what my opinion is, as of this moment, I have not decided my opinion. Okay, I leave plenty of room for this to be true because Epstein, clearly not okay, right? Clearly something up there. And that's still a case that's evolving. As we know, the girlfriend is now been arrested or whatever. But so I leave room to be open. But here's my skepticism. Here's where some of my skepticism comes in. Do you believe that the traffickers would be dumb enough to name products after literally the missing person instead of renaming the product? I mean, they could have called it Brown Hutch. They could have called it anything.
Right.
Do you think they'd be that stupid to use those names?
Well, that's a great question. So I guess a different connection. Well, so I guess what I would say is this. First of all, I think it would take a lot to really make that connection. And somebody took time to make that connection, right? I mean, I think you and I looking, right, exactly. So you and I looking at those cabinets, I would never make that connection. unless I was doing some serious research on it or whatever the case may be. But I think the point is that not only do these people think that oh my gosh, Alyssa just said what was about to come out of my mouth. Alyssa, so Alyssa said, I feel like they're that narcissistic and feel like they're untouchable. Literally the words I was going to use. They feel like they are untouchable. And you know what's scary? They are.
And
that's what's terrifying.
And we see that in it's like Epstein. And I know I'm referring to Epstein, but it's just the thing that is on the top of my brain at the moment. But we see that in these other cases. And we see that when we start to prosecute, I mean, we can take it outside of human trafficking and we can talk about the OJ trial and we can talk about all of these other, people with money who have gone to court, been arrested and charged, gone to court, and have been found innocent because the money paid for that, right? Or that it started to go somewhere, but then it stopped because, suddenly, mysteriously, it's not a thing anymore. So I don't know. I kind of think maybe, again, I could go either way. On the one hand, I'm like, you can't possibly be that dumb. And on the other hand, I go, but if you really believe that you're untouchable, maybe
and you're in your face. Yeah. So and so let's look at this now, because I found somebody else that was looking for the missing people and they can't find them.
Tell me about that.
I mean, not the people themselves. So they were doing some research on trying to link the names to now those missing people, like the information is not out there. And so not only does it, and it's just like data with trafficking, it disappears. Data disappears because those untouchables can make it happen.
Yeah. Okay, so let me just make sure I'm hearing you right. So what you're saying is, one of the girls' names, I forget who you said, Yuritsa. So Yuritsa, you're saying that when people started investigating to go and look this up and make connections and to figure out who this person was, now Yuritsa's missing paperwork, documentation, it's gone?
That's what I understand. Like, people aren't being able to find what they were able to find before on that. And so it is just crazy. And it's amazing what these people can make disappear. Now, also, those cabinets were removed immediately. Now, here's my question. And I want to go on record and say this conversation is, although we're having it as part of the Set Me Free Project conversation, our opinions are the opinions of Stephanie and Yolanda. Yes. That's right. And we have no truth. But I think it's interesting that they removed the cabinets. So if I were not selling people in cabinets, and I really had cabinets that were $15,000 because they were quality cabinets, I would not remove them. I would make a point of saying, hey, this is why these cabinets are $15,000.
So what I read on that, you're right. So what I read on that was something to the effect of, and I did very little on this so far, because sometimes it just gets exhausting to do this work, and I don't do everything after hours. But what I had read on something with that was that they removed the products from the website in order to more accurately name them and describe why they were worth so much more than the rest of their inventory. So that's what I think that came out like a Friday or over the weekend or something. I can't remember. Maybe it was a little bit earlier last week. I can't remember, and I looked it up. But that actually furthers the idea that this could be true. Yeah. Because you're right, Stephanie. How in the heck would you have products for sale and then be worth that amount of money and it be okay for you to remove them from your inventory, from your website for sale, and that not affect your bottom line, and that not be something as simple as just have your people write a description of why those products are worth so much. Isn't
right? You would come out and say, hey, this is why, this is what they're worth. We're proud of this, and da 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 da. And so we could document that they really did have these cabinets with those names on it. So Beverly asked, can we really document that they had those cabinets? Is that real? And we do have pictures of the cabinets. And who knows, those could be completely made up, and we'll post these.
The CEO did come out with a statement, right? So the CEO acknowledged that there really were those cabinets, really were those names, and they really were those prices, and they removed them from the website. So there are, we do know that much.
And we'll post these Twitter. We're going to have a little section on our website for our lives, and we'll post these Twitter posts just so that you can see this and see that discussion. But what else did the CEO do today, Yolanda?
So in preparation for tonight, I just kind of Googled real quick to see if there's any like standout things. And the CEO about 3 hours ago, roughly sometime this afternoon, stepped down. He resigned. So, Stephanie, let me ask you, what does that say to you? What does that tell you? If he resigned after an internet rumor, a conspiracy theory, and he's resigned, what does that say to you?
It doesn't look good. It really does not look good. Oh, now, interesting. So I just want to, so Andrew is talking about some of the books on their ads and things. He's saying that Wayfair is pretty scary. I do. I think that is absolutely not a good sign, because as a CEO, if it's just like, this is a bad day we're going to recover from, right? We have some bad press, we're going to recover from it. But yeah, him stepping down is a huge thing.
If there's no truth to it, I mean, that's the part that I'm really struggling with the most. If there's evidence that can prove that none of this is true, that it's just an internet rumor, we're all bored in the house bored. That's not, give me a like, but we're all in the house bored with COVID, and we are, just wanting some kind of something to happen. And if that's the case, and it's just an internet rumor, if it's just a conspiracy theory, and if it's accurate, that these products are really truly worth that amount of money,
right?
Have a description. And why did he step down? It blows my mind.
So where did you see that he stepped down? Where'd you see he down?
I might still have it up. Hold on one moment. See.
Okay. So
Boston.com local news.
Oh, so that's where they're headquartered.
Yep.
They are headquartered in Boston.
Wayfair officials have publicly. Oh, wait. The CEO has resigned following the viral spread of bizarre internet theory that made its way around social sites like Reddit, Twitter, TikTok, since surfacing last Friday. Of course, there's no truth to these claims, a spokesperson said in a statement, and then on and on and on.
And Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide.
And that's a whole different life, Stephanie. I mean, we can't tackle everything today, but
I think that it's so important, though. You look at it. So if we're talking about the rich and famous, the people that we cannot attain, I mean, like have an idea of how to attain that. We're talking about people, I think about all of the Hollywood stars that have been doing fine, spoke out against something, and committed suicide. There's so much that's going on, and it's scary. And I would be interested. I can't wait to watch how this unfolds, because I would not be surprised if someone from Wayfair passed away in the next week or so. I don't know.
Okay. So I want to do this real quick, and I don't know how much longer we want to because
yeah, we have like 10 minutes.
Hungry. Okay, 10 minutes. We'll try to wrap it up in 10 minutes. So
okay.
So I'm concerned because, and let's talk about this a little bit, Stephanie. We know in our field that we oftentimes come across situations where somebody has over exaggerated what human trafficking is. So I really want to talk about that piece and understand, because, like, for example, somebody talks about people and that's how the human traffickers are getting people here in Iowa and the Midwest. And the reality is that there's no evidence of that. True. Right? There's no evidence, not from our police departments, not from our hospitals, not from our survivor care restoration homes, not from our victim advocates. There is no evidence of microchipping in human trafficking here in the Midwest. Can it happen? Absolutely. Anything's possible. Money. We could talk about that again. But so I'm kind of nervous to actually say that this is true when it could be somebody's opinion that looks a little, I agree, looks shady. Okay. I totally get that. There's a lot of signs here that look shady, but I'm not willing to stand on that yet, because we have seen so many people who think they know what human trafficking is, take a little bit of information. And mind you, this story with Wayfair, by the way, came out or was talked about, came to the attention because of one Reddit user, just an average person who said, suspicious. And then we all started buying into it, right? We all started going, ooh, that does sound shady. Oh, that does sound suspicious. Ooh, this doesn't make sense. But what real evidence do we have right now? And, you know, can it be true? Absolutely, it can be true. Absolutely, this can be a true story. But I personally think, I feel like I'm going to wait it out a little longer before I jump on that bandwagon, because we have seen others overreach what human trafficking really is, because that's
totally with you. Yeah. So, and just to be clear, I really do think that it's important that we understand what human trafficking looks like in our own backyard.
Yes.
Because it really doesn't look like selling children in cabinets. It doesn't.
Right.
And it looks like the kids. But here's what I would say. If any of you have had an opportunity to watch the Jeffrey Epstein Netflix show, which I was adamant against watching, because sometimes, you know, when you do this day to day, you want to avoid the sex trafficking conversations on your off time. But I really did want to watch this because it fits all into all of this stuff. But if you look at Jeffrey Epstein, how did he groom his victims? His victims came from high school. His victims came, and he groomed those victims by building a relationship and say, hey, I can do something for you. Or, hey, do you want to do this? You'll get some money, or whatever the case may be. He wasn't buying people in cabinets. He wasn't selling people in cabinets.
He wasn't kidnapping people.
But then he wasn't kidnapping people. But then, and what we have to understand is there truly is a market on the deep, dark web that we don't even understand. And I think, and I almost put it on two different levels, and that's not fair to say. That's in no way diminishing victims here in our communities or anything like that by any means. But it's kind of like, I think the financially elite live a very different life than we do. And we know that there are rumors that Hollywood has pedophilia rings. We know there are rumors that we know all of this to be true. But we also know that right here in Omaha, Nebraska, there was a pedophile ring that went all the way to the White House. And there are people that do not believe that happened. And yet I talked to a young man whose friends were sold at those parties. And so, it's just one of those things. So here's my opinion. I'm going to give my opinion. Do I think this could be true? I do. I do think it could be true. I don't know it's true. I think it could be. And I think that there is definitely a possibility that the elite do things that we cannot imagine.
Right.
And by elite, I mean the financially elite. And I'm talking the crazy. I mean, Jeffrey Epstein, no one even knew why he was rich.
Right.
No one even knew where his money came from. And he was loaded. And so, so Beverly says the two Corys.
Right.
Now, two Corys, my time frame, Corey Feldman and Corey, Corey H, what? Corey, what's his last name?
Haim. There you go.
I just blanked. So Corys are absolutely, well, one of them died, but Corey Feldman has come out and said, this is happening. This was happening. You know who else has come out and said this happened?
Who?
Justin Bieber.
I did not know that.
Justin Bieber. Yes. And he came out and said that and here's what he said, that he was coerced essentially, and this is kind of where the conspiracy theories go, that in Hollywood, in order to get famous, that you have to, Corey, thank you. In order to get famous, you have to be a part of these pedophilia rings and pedophilia, they're kind of rituals in order to get famous. If you decline, you're out. Now, that is, who knows?
Well,
but
I mean,
Justin,
that's interesting, because then now I've just got all these things in my head, because we've heard so much about Scientology and the connection to pedophilia and that sort of thing, as well as their connection to celebrities. And yes, and so I do think that this could be real. I'm with you on that, Stephanie. I absolutely do think this could be real. But what I don't want to happen, and I know you feel this way as well.
Yeah.
What I don't want to happen is, I don't want anybody on here that's watching this today or in the future to look at this and to think, this is how trafficking always looks, because it's not like this always. Could that happen?
Right.
Yes, it could happen. Maybe it did. Maybe it's not. I do agree that there's a lot of scary. Somebody said something about coincidences. There's an awful lot of coincidences with Wayfair right now. So that's where normally I would have come out and I would have been like, this is going to blow over. It's going to be fine. In fact, that was action. But when I actually started looking at just a little bit that I did do, there are some really scary connections here. So I leave room for that to be true. But it is also true that here in Iowa, in Nebraska, in the Midwest, that's not what we're seeing most often. And so in fact, more of the time here, like 99% of the time, don't quote me on that stat, I don't know the exact number, but a large percentage of the time here in the Midwest, it's a mom selling her kids to make rent money. It's a boyfriend selling a girlfriend to get drug money. It's a desperate situation turned into a business opportunity. It is low level, small things that are happening, but don't doubt that as low level as it might be, it is very real and it is very traumatic to the people in our communities.
Correct.
And that's the most important piece that I really want the takeaway. Take nothing else away. Take that away and understand that this is happening in our communities, and it looks different, but it is happening. We see it all the time. We cross it all the time. We always have victims. We're responding to communities who just had something happen. This is an ongoing issue.
It is. And I want to just remember that there really are there is evil out there. There is evil, evil, evil. And I hope absolutely none of you are on the dark web. That is something you don't ever want to go, because the things really happening there are things that we can't even imagine. And it's kind of like this Wayfair thing. Don't assume that this is not just, okay, I'm going to go on Wayfair and, oh my gosh, I can buy a kid. That's not happening. These are very intentional contacts. If this is true, these are intentional contacts to specific people, and it is very deep-seated, and it is very, very ugly. And I think it's important to know that going to as you know, Joe Schmo, going to get on Wayfair, get it on Amazon or wherever, and say, oh, $15,000 cabinet, I can buy a human being. That's not what's happening. But what is happening is I think, and this is my opinion, and I could be wrong, but I think it's a very high level exchange that we can't see. Yeah. And so we're not afraid of the white van. We're not afraid of, you know, oh my gosh, there's a zip tie on my car. That's human trafficking. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about something very high level that we can't even tap. And it's the Jeffrey Epsteins of the world. It's the, you know, the Larry Kings of the world that are doing these kind of things. Not Larry King, the interviewer. I always like to say that, but things that we just can't even imagine. And I think about how many people were connected to Jeffrey Epstein, by the way. Just, you know, the names were coming out. So Ghislaine, we know Ghislaine Maxwell obviously was a big part of that, and her bail was denied. But Prince Andrew was connected, Kevin Spacey, Bill Clinton, Naomi Campbell. I mean, these are names that came out. Donald Trump was connected, Alan Dershowitz. So we're talking about people who have had some sort of connection. Not necessarily they had their name on the jet flight, but there was some sort of connection to Jeffrey Epstein. All of these people are very level, high dollar people.
Really, yeah.
Okay. It's scary.
So I also want to mention real quick, and I know we're running out of time, and Stephanie, I'll let you take it over from here, but I also just want to put in everybody's mind and let everybody know a couple of things. Number one, I have heard in maybe the last 3 months, and I think it's been going on longer than I've known about it, but just in the last few months, there's been some real momentum behind legalizing pedophilia, norming pedophilia. That I've even, I won't go there.
That's a good live. We can talk about that.
Okay, so we might do that on another live. But I think, but I want you guys to be aware that we're not living in the innocent world that we once thought. And every single day, even though I do this work, I'm running into more and more evil all the time. And so anywhere that you can make an impact in your church, in your community, in your school, with your family, to teach how to treat others with value and respect, and the morals that we're not going to sell our children, and we're not going to treat our children as sexual objects. Anywhere where you can do that, I encourage you. I highly encourage you to do that, because we certainly can't reach everybody, and so we need your help for that. The other thing that I want you to know as well is that we love coming and talking to you guys. So if you've got a church group, if you've got, if you're a teacher, if you're, whatever it is, we love to come into any opportunity that we can. We are working very, very hard with our virtual curriculum. We've been really updating that quite a bit and getting that ready in this COVID world that we're living in. So please let us know if there's ever an opportunity that you want us to come speak. We won't have this conversation, but we will go into what human trafficking really is, what it looks like in our community, share some local stories, that kind of thing. So don't hesitate. All you have to do is reach out to us at the setmefreeproject.net. No, not just set me project.
Just posted it.
Okay, perfect. reach out to us on that website. Send us, there's a place where you can say request an educator, fill out that quick little form, and then I'll get back to you. I'll respond to you and start scheduling some things.
Absolutely.
Stephanie, have I missed anything?
Yeah, I would just also say we are going to be doing more of these. We are going to be going live on a weekly, every other weekly basis just to talk about stuff. And it's just fun to do. And we're not sure what's going to happen in the schools. And so we are really prepared for a very strong digital format. But if you go to setmefreeproject.net, please remember us in your giving too. We can't do this without your help. We do not have a fee for what we do. And so if you go to setmefreeproject.net / I don't know which way, give, and it's right on our website, you can donate and participate in partnering with us in that way. So we are just so excited to be here with you today. I thought this was fun. I mean, I learned, I kind of formed my opinion we were going. I'm not sure I really came in with an opinion, but also pop on our live or just email us if you have topics that you want to talk about or you want us to talk about on lives. We would love to do that. If there's anything that you're thinking, okay, I heard about this, or I want to talk about this. We want to start hitting some of these, I don't know, some controversial issues or some issues that are going around in the area of trafficking or sexual violence or things like that, or maybe just how amazing, how did you become so amazing? You know, I mean, we can talk about that for an hour.
Yeah.
I mean, we're happy to. So so we are so excited to be doing this with you on a regular basis. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for the shares. We appreciate that. And we're going to get really good at this.
We're going to get really good at this. Yes, absolutely. And I really hope to see everybody at Comedy for Change. You have a little bit of an outdoor patio, plus we have inside. We also have a virtual piece as well. So we hope that everybody haven't got your tickets yet, please go get your tickets. Let us know, and we hope to see you there.
All right, guys, for joining us, and this was so much fun. Beverly wants to talk about making pedophilia normalized, so that would be quite the conversation. Okay. I think that would be heavy, but we will start researching it. So thank you, everybody. We hope to see you next Friday, but otherwise, we will definitely, I think we'll probably see you next Thursday, maybe.
Thursday, next
live.
Friday. We're going to see you sometime.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, guys. We'll see you later. Have a good one. Bye-bye.